Welcome back to our special election coverage. You're watching TRT World. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has won Turkey's election, making him the country's first executive president. Let's get a little more analysis. Joining me now in the studio is Meryem Ilayda, who is editorial coordinator and columnist for Turkey's daily Sabah, a national newspaper here in Turkey in English. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Now, it was a clear, decisive victory from the People's Alliance, both on the presidential front and the parliamentary front. What's your reaction to the result?
Well, it was expected something during the polls. It was the AK Party was the first party, but people were not sure that will it end in the first round or will it go to the second round, because second round can be a risk, and people were not so sure about what is going on, because you know, if Erdogan could not make it in the first round, and if he runs for the second round, then all of the opposition parties previously declared that they will be united, whoever runs against Erdogan. So it becomes too risky. So now, with a clear victory, there is no more second round, and AK Party ended with the first round. But this is something that's good. And also for these elections, People's Alliance has got the majority in the parliament, but not the AK Party. AK Party has got the most seats, but not able to win the majority of the parliament. So it means that some kinds of new coalitions, when you want to confirm the budget and some other serious issues in order to legislation, AK Party needs further coalition in the parliament.
That is an excellent point that you have brought up. The AK Party on its own has not got a majority. It has in the form of its alliance with the MHP. So the MHP has done particularly well, many saying better than many had expected. Are the MHP now kingmaker going forward?
Well, because of the pollsters, because they were expecting a sort of between 4% and 8% MHP, and some that, oh no, 8% is even bigger. So now we could not measure during the referendum last year, 2017, who voted for MHP and who voted for AK Party. There was a slight victory, narrow victory over 50, but we could not see, you know, who voted for whom. So they said that, okay, the reaction or a sort of decline of the votes came from the Nationalist Party, MHP. But now we see that this is not true. Maybe these some kind of different swinger votes, and it's obvious that the nationalist parties are the winner of this election, because Akşener's İYİ Party is also a nationalist party, and now they are over 10% threshold. And now combining all of these votes is becoming now talking about a 20% of nationalist votes, and also MHP is now made its promises as that there will be no change, and now there is no change. So that it's just very interesting to see that where is the swinger votes coming and going. Further analysis needed in the coming days, of course.
Indeed. What we do know is that there will now be 5 parties in Parliament, including the pro-Kurdish party, the HDP, which managed to get over 10% of the vote. What impact will that have on the leadership of the country? Will that have an impact at all, given we now have this new presidential system where essentially the president will have ultimate power?
Well, this is a very good picture with 5 parties in the parliament. I find it very positive, because every political structure and clique is now being represented in the parliament. And also HDP's being in the parliament is a very positive thing for me. Now there is no more like small parties could not go to the parliament because they put alliances and they establish blocks. Now they are being represented. It is good, and it is very fertile environment for Turkish democracy. However, that you say that executive and legislation clashes, that we will see that because the system is not tested now. We're just going out. But one thing is for sure, Erdogan's victory over 52, it means that Turkish voters back this new system. Even though it was a snap elections, Turkish electorate behavior is not pro-snap elections, because snap elections is always understood as something unstable, economic problems. So when you have snap elections, okay, now, because Turkish voters are always voting for stability, and they understand the political stability in line with democratization and economic growth. So because of the 90s coalition government, short-term alliances, that the country suffered a lot, and many of the electors, of course, engraved this in their mind, and they are voting with this behavior. But even though it was snap elections, even though some economic problems, it is obvious that the Turkish voters backed this new system and gave a license to Erdogan and saying that,
indeed,
okay,
he will always have those numbers on his side, won't he?
Yeah, shift the system now, because now the system was like in limbo between the old one and the new one. Now it is, promised since 2016, the new system. It is also in the referendum approved by the voters in 2017 with a referendum. And now in between 2017 and 2019, the normal election time, is 2 years, just something in limbo for administration, for bureaucracy. Who is going to do that? So it is just something that the voters, accelerated it. Okay, now do it and change the system, back the new system. So there is a public support behind the system, but for the parliament, the voters said that, okay, we want everybody in the parliament and we want a sort of coalition and cooperation between the parties.
Is that a vote of confidence for the opposition? Because there was a lot of excitement in the run-up to the election with how well the opposition did, specifically behind the CHP leader, Meryem Ilayda. We saw huge turnouts at his rallies, and there was a lot of talk about the opposition being reignited, reinvigorated. But they, at the end of the day, the vote did not go to a second round when it came to the president. Yes. But how has this race as a whole impacted the opposition? Are we seeing a new invigorated opposition party?
It has to make an impact on the opposition, especially the main opposition party, CHP, because looking from other perspective, the other opposition parties, E Party, did well because they are now over threshold, and this is the first time in their election. So they have got some sort of promises, but nobody can measure them in their previous condition. HDP did well, now they are over threshold. But for CHP, I couldn't say the same thing. Meryem Ilayda has got the self-confidence votes, but I could not say the same thing for CHP, the party, because there is a sort of misleading campaigning problems, because Kılıçdaroğlu made his own campaign as a party and they, more or less didn't support Meryem Ilayda. But Meryem Ilayda is over 30%, which means that as a person has much more than his party's votes. Of course, this is my perception, this is my opinion. Meryem Ilayda will ask a sort of leadership change in the coming days in CHP. Because if one person is getting higher than his party, then he has every right to ask for this.
Meryem, briefly, we have so little time. What is the biggest challenge now for the president? Is it the economy?
Yes, it is economy, and it was economy during the elections, but it is obvious that the electorate voted for this, saying that, okay, AK Party can do it better again.
Meryem Ilayda, Atlas from the Daily Sabah. Many thanks for your analysis.
Thank you very much.